We're in Atwater Village in Los Angeles, which is sort of the east side of LA, close to downtown.
Just don't hit the spot too hard.
We've lived here almost 8 years now. Pretty modest. It's a 2.5 bedroom, California little bungalow. We wanted more space. When we moved here, we just had him. So we used the yard. We had a little garden. But as he sort of grew, we kind of we just wanted more space to have as more functional, I think. So yeah, that's why we wanted to utilize our yard as sort of an extension of the home, not just the ADU, but the rest of the yard. We're also not from California. So our families are not here. And as we started to have children, we wanted them to be able to stay for longer periods of time where they could really be integrated into our home, but have a space away from the children too, just because as grandparents like a little refuge every now and then.
So you had a pretty modest house right?
Yeah, and it's been here since 1910, so wow. We're the, I think, third or fourth owners, but yeah.
Could you have added on to it?
We could, and we may, because we do love the neighborhood, so.
But your thoughts were?
At first, I think it was initially, we just thought, oh, we'll add on to the garage, but it kind of was a mess and a little bit old, so, and it wasn't really a lot of space that we could utilize, so. We did change the color of the house when we built the ADU, just to kind of merge the two buildings together without completely changing the house, so.
So you had this big backyard for the size of the house, right?
Like we had a big backyard, and this is where our garage was, kind of where this foundation was. So it's set very close to the house. And it kind of was inconvenient.
Yeah, because you had this huge strip of land that was being taken up for driveway.
Exactly, and not really fully utilized. The garage. It wasn't really a lot of space.
Because you can see the layout here. It's probably the size of a bedroom. You could have made it, or.
Exactly. It would have just been kind of a single bedroom. So what changed our minds was Rebecca sharing a house that she did down the street from here as well. That kind of had the same concept where they took the garage out and then they utilized the back part of the property to expand the space, because we weren't really using it at all. So.
You weren't using the backyard, or you weren't?
We just the back, like 10 feet of the yard. Not really. I never went behind my garage ever, because it was kind of like a dead zone.
Another thing that we, figured out over time is that people really use spaces that are right next to their living space. It's just like a natural human thing. I think that people will go, 10 feet from their house most of the time. And so, if we had just converted the garage, they still would have probably stayed in this section of the yard. So by putting it in the back, then they'll use the whole thing.
Rebecca's right. Like, we didn't come out here like 10 feet to the garage and that was it. And I didn't go back there. Now we use it all the time, which is great. So the pool was initially just a trough that had a filter in it, because we were keeping it very budget. And then part of the way through, we kind of just decided, how are we going to dig up, all this boardwalking and everything to dig the hole? So we just did it in the middle of it and pulled the trigger, which was the best decision we ever made. For not having a backyard for 1.5 years, and then all of a sudden having all of this, it was like we finished, and then it was the best thing. We never left our house ever, because we just stayed in this little oasis. So it was great. Even just passing through it, I think you're able to feel a little bit more connected with it.
Because the house and the, what do you call that, the backyard house? Granny unit?
The back house, yeah.
They sort of frame the backyard. I mean, it encloses it somehow.
But it also kind of makes the yard feel bigger and more expansive too.
It does feel way bigger.
Yeah, every bit is used. Yeah, I mean, my son uses the yard for soccer. It could be bigger, but
So the driveway has become a soccer field.
soccer fields, when our dog friends come over, you know, a little place to run around.
What is it about this boardwalk? I mean, it feels really great. I don't think I've ever seen anything like the idea of a boardwalk through your backyard.
Yeah, I think part of it's the material, right? So when you walk on it, it makes you think of, you know, rivers or docks. So the river's close by. And I do think that it just, even though it's a tiny bit off the ground, it's enough of a distance. And because of the material change, that you feel like you're somewhere else, like you feel like you're near water. And it's just a way to connect the different spaces just in a very simple way.
Because the two
Casual.
spaces are very different, actually. Like the siding's different and everything, but you wouldn't really notice.
That's interesting. So wait, tell me how that is.
Well, this is the original siding, and you know, we didn't have the money at the time to do this house.
And so the new one is cement board, which is, you know, fire resistant, insect resistant, and it's less expensive.
Which is great because
Yeah.
it looks like wood. And it really does feel like the other house.
Yeah.
We also tried to make our doors as malleable as possible, just again, like sort of opening it out into the area. But yeah, my husband works from home back here. So a little workstation here, but it can also accommodate families and loved ones. So this couch is also opens up to a full king bed, a small kitchenette with a little fridge. Typically, anybody that's staying here, they're probably eating with us. So just a little guy.
Yeah.
Has some snacks in it.
Snacks. Is that because your husband's working back here?
Correct.
So, yeah.
So he keeps a little stash of things back here. But also we had, you know, a printer in here, and it's multifaceted. And then we had this piece sort of custom built for us by a friend who makes furniture. He also built the side tables and stuff, so it kind of all tied together. And everything's, you know, modular, mobile, on wheels, so we can turn it or store stuff in it. But everything moves so that when you pull the couch out and kids are sleeping over, it's really easy. But then on the back side of this is, well, we're hiding a TV here too, so when my dad comes, he can watch TV. So lots of, you know, we personally didn't want to focus on a TV here, so we're just trying to hide that a little bit, but we totally have a TV accessible here too. And then on the back side of this is actually the wardrobe for the bedroom. So this is just a queen size bed, which is nice and cozy. And then we have a full closet, and these all open up and can fit luggage and storage and everything inside too. So this was a really unique piece that our friend built because it has double function, which is great. So this is the bedroom's pretty general, but our bathroom is accessible from the outside.
Oh, wow.
So that when you're dripping wet from the pool, you can come straight in and just take a shower or use the bathroom. So brings you out the other side.
Oh, yeah. How smart. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never seen that, but it makes total sense.
Super convenient, especially with kids and wet people, where you don't want them tracking around your house or even this space. So they have a direct line in here, which is great.
Is that all waterproof? Obviously wood, right? Waterproof paint, or?
We used a fiberglass door, so it's extra, you know, durable when it comes in contact with water. It's made for being an exterior door.
But also the shower's not super splashy either. We used more of the rain
Okay.
head, and so it kind of comes directly down. It doesn't make a huge mess. So we haven't had any problems with it.
Yeah, and the scale, you know, it's big enough.
It is big, actually. It's a really big shower.
Yeah.
It's great. The tile is what? Just a
Penny tile.
And it's flush with the floor so that if the parents are visiting, they're not having to like step over a curb.
We've had families stay here, so parents and then the kids out there, or I had my aunt sleeping out here and my parents were here, and they typically share a hotel room anyways, so it's not much different.
They're used to being together.
Yeah.
The structure's so interesting. Like, it's not an exact traditional gable.
Yeah, I mean, it's taking a basic form, the gable, but then playing with it kind of spatially to make it more interesting and make it feel bigger. So we did things like having the datum line where there's wood and then white above. It
has like a human scale, but also helps it make it feel bigger because of that contrast between the wood and the white. And then, for example, the way we put the mirror in there, it kind of extends it, so it also feels like there might be more space behind there. And they were game to do this double-sided cabinet rather than closing it off with the door to make a bedroom. Okay. And that way it just, you can see everything, it feels more open and airy, but you still have a kind of like private, semi-private space.
And we came from New York, so we are used to like the studio apartment concept or, a loft type concept. And yeah, rather than blocking it off, I just felt like it was probably the best. Also, one day if we wanted to change this into something different, we could, because there's no wall sort of holding you back or structured to that. And we knew the bedroom area would be not small, but it fits right in there with enough functional space.
It's also interesting, the plywood.
Well, we loved the idea of we're not living back here, but it dresses the space and makes it more interesting.
One of the early things we talked about was having it glow at night and the warmth. And so, and it's dark on the outside. So at night, it's just like augments that warm feeling.
And it does glow at night. That's why we call it the midnight room, because it's just really beautiful at night and very serene and peaceful.
It gets more golden because it's reflecting off the wood.
There's also a pattern, right?
Yeah, I mean the pattern is also sort of like wallpaper.
Yeah, it's wallpaper without wallpaper, and I didn't want to get too fussy with hanging art and not having the right piece or whatever. So yeah, it just feels finished.
So the floor would have been almost like an old garage floor.
Yeah, it's the slab. It's just the concrete.
Yeah, this is just the finished slab, so it's economical, durable. They just have to know in advance that it's going to be exposed and you're not going to cover it. So they take a little more care when they're troweling it, but it's multi-purpose. It's like super durable, so if the kids are in here or if people are working in here, it's very flexible.
And we knew it was going to crack in some places, and we're kind of okay with that. And
but it's the same that you have texture in the walls, you have texture in the floor.
Correct. That's the same thing too. I think adding another wood in here would also complicate it, and then tile didn't really feel right at the time either. So we were fine with concrete from the beginning. So we knew we didn't need a full garage for our things. So we planned to have the proper storage to utilize the things that we really felt like we needed. So this is our extra fridge for the house. We have freezer space, and we have tons of storage in here. Our surfboards are in here, and maybe I can't unlock it. But it double slides back, and then we have storage, and then we also, my husband is pretty handy and builds stuff, so we've also he can pull out his cart. It's all sort of tools for the home.
So this is your garage now?
Exactly. Yeah, without needing a full garage.
Yeah.
We have our tools and stuff and some food and storage.
Because that's what people use their garages for, right?
Exactly.
I don't know anyone who parks in their garage.
Right.
Especially in LA, no one does. We did intentionally put the public, the living space on this side across from the living space on that side, and then the sleeping area is across from the bedroom, so that just the natural activity feels more comfortable.
We've had a party here. It's just the super natural. It's an inside-outside party. You're utilizing all of the space. It's interesting when you have a party, actually everybody stands on the boardwalk.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
I think that people feel comfortable on boardwalks, which is like...
Maybe it's weirdly nostalgic.
Yeah, like being at the beach or by a river or lake.
Do you see this as sort of something you'd lose later, or later for parents, or do you see it evolving, or kids when they are teens, or?
The kids definitely will. My kids are teenagers now, and we have a similar kind of back house in our yard, and the kids hang out there all the time with their friends.
Yeah, even just to hang out for them, I think it'll be great. And yeah, and you never know what life's going to throw you either, you know. So potentially somebody could live back here. We did have friends stay here for like 3 months when they were working on their house, and it was great for them. So
Wow, that's a long time actually. So people lived here.
It's
for a
way
little bit.
easier here than inside your house.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I was like, you guys can do whatever you need to back here. I mean, that's the great thing is that anybody could stay for an extended period, and it doesn't really affect the inside at all. Unless you're feeding them, but you know.
So they just cook back here.
Or take out or whatever. But yeah, it's great. And I do think eventually it can be absolutely multi-purpose. We also thought about it because my husband works here and his business is expanding. We were like, oh, do we take out the living area and put some more desks in that he could meet with his team? That's also, it could be an office space, a bigger office space if we really needed it to, so. And eventually one day, or if we sell one day, like somebody could live back here potentially.
Or the kids.
Or the
kids
kids.
might
Pastor,
live
would
here.
you want to live here when you're maybe 14?
He's already asked.
Really?
Yeah.
You've already asked? Are you ready now
No, you're
It's
not.
nice.
to move out of the house?
He wishes, but yeah, it'll be great as they get older.
And it may make sense also in your property. Now, this shows in your property too.
Correct. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people that are building them in LA are doing that sort of forward thinking. Like someday, if a parent needs to move in, they can move in, or we'll move into the back and rent out our front house, when we're retired and we need income. Yeah. So there's just it gives you a lot of options that just building onto your house doesn't necessarily give you.
You got a bird?